Welcome back to Son of a Preacher Man. As always, I am your host. It's the SOAP man. Soap man in the house. Now check this out. In my last video, I had to cut it short because I had reached my hour limit and I didn't want to hear Mama Soap Man's mouth. That's M-O-U-F. Black people don't use the TH. Anywho, I'm gonna do a quick recap so you know exactly where we are. This is a continuation of the return of the king. Yeah, I just like that little clip. So in my last episode, we talked about David's return as king after his son Absalom's failed attempt at a coup. And so we talked about how, like, David forgave Shimei, the dude that tried to, talk down on him and kick him when he was down. And we talked about David's relationship with his nephews, Abishai and Joab, because his relationship with his nephews, these three characters, these three brothers, these nephews of David, they play a big role in his success, in his climb to fame, in his ascension to the kingship, all the way throughout his reign. They play a key element, and I'm gonna talk about in a couple episodes. I'm gonna talk about all David's mighty men. I'm gonna dedicate a whole episode just to his homeboys. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't feel like, you can accurately tell the story of David excluding all the talent that he had around him. So anyway, we focused and honed in on his relationship with his nephews Abishai and Joab. And I was telling you that these nephews of David, they some cold-blooded killers. I compared them to Mousy. Mousy was a character in the movie Devil in a Blue Dress. It was starring Denzel Washington and Don Cheadle, and Don Cheadle played Denzel's best friend Mousy. And Denzel's character in the movie, his name was Ezekiel, and his name was Easy for short. And Easy had this best friend named Mousy, and Mousy was a loyal companion, but Mousy was a cold-blooded killer. And in the movie, that was one of the things that Denzel had to deal with. You know what I mean? He appreciated Mousy's help, but Mousy just kept killing people. Anyway, we talked about Mephibosheth, and Mephibosheth made another guest appearance, and it was really just talking about how loyal Mephibosheth was and how loyal David's friends was to him overall. They risked their life and came and brought him food and provisions and transportation in his time of need. And so I just really wanted to show how it pays off to do things the right way. It comes back to you, and David is a perfect example of that. So Mephibosheth came back, he was showing his loyalty to David, letting him know he hadn't forgot how David looked out for him. But the main thing I tried to emphasize was the influence of these nephews of David, the sons of Zeruiah, Abishai, Joab, and Asahel, though Asahel's dead at this point in time. But these brothers that are left, Abishai and Joab, they just have a huge influence on David's success, and I don't want to say his downfall, but they are as much of a stumbling block as they are an asset. And we see this in the last episode where Joab kills his cousin Amasa. Now, why does Joab do that? Well, first of all, if you look throughout the history of David's reign, Joab, David's nephew and top general of David's army, has a habit of killing off the competition. He not only has a habit of killing off his competition, he has a habit of dealing with his problems by murder. You know, he says, I'll just murder ya. You know, why argue with you about it? Why make a big fuss about something I can just solve real quick with murder? And Joab seems to have no qualms whatsoever about murdering people. Like, he will murder somebody as quick as you would order you something to eat from Uber or DoorDash. It's nothing to him. And he seems to have no problem murdering somebody, even when it goes against the will of the king. Even when it puts him in jeopardy and makes him fall out of favor with the king. If it furthers his ambitions, Joab will just murder you. Let me just give you an example, picking up where we left off in the last episode. David's son Absalom, look at me for a second. David's son Absalom attempts a failed coup. That means he tries to kick his father out and take over the throne. He would have killed his father, his own father, had he got the opportunity. One of the people who was helping Absalom in the early days of his coup was Joab. Now, why was Joab doing this? Because, mind you, don't forget, Joab is David's top general of the army. Why is he the top general? Because he's good at what he does. So he's close to David. David even uses Joab to kill another one of his captains named Uriah. Why? Because David slept with Uriah's wife and got her pregnant. And when Uriah wouldn't sleep with his wife, when David couldn't get Uriah to sleep with his own wife to fool him into thinking that the baby was his, David had him killed. How did David have him killed? By the hand of Joab, his right-hand man, his nephew, his top general. So Joab is close to David no matter how you slice it. So Absalom comes up with this attempted failed coup. It's going to end up being a failed coup. And Joab is one of the early conspirators. So I'm telling you all that to tell you, Joab is not in good graces with David. So much so, David is so upset with Joab. Well, first of all, I have to go back a minute. Joab kills a rival general named Abner. He's King Saul's top general, and King Saul was at war with David towards the end of King Saul's reign. And his top general, his name was Abner. And Abner ended up killing Joab's youngest brother, Saul. And it was Saul's fault that he got killed. Abner gave him the chance to walk away. Anyhow, Joab ends up killing Abner for that, and that pisses David off, okay? And David curses Joab. He's so angry about what Joab did. But this is nothing new for Joab. He's always killing somebody and pissing David off. So fast forward to back what I was saying before. Absalom, David's son, he attempts this failed coup. And who's one of the early conspirators with him? Joab. Why is Joab one of the early conspirators? Because he doesn't mind playing kingmaker. David has it out for Joab, and Joab knows he's not in David's good graces. So better that Absalom be king than David, because then that way Joab won't have to pay for killing Abner. Okay, so Absalom, his attempt at a coup, it fails. So Joab ends up switching sides back to David, but David is still eyeballing him in a negative way. because Joab is, he just trying to do what's in his best interest, not what's in the best interest of the king. So the king puts Joab in charge because he needs Joab. And Joab's and the king's army go out to fight Absalom. The king tells Joab, don't kill my son, take him alive. What does Joab do? He kills the king's son, even though he could have easily taken him alive. So in the last episode, the king is visibly upset about the death of his son, and Joab gives him a scathing rebuke. Look at me one more time. Joab tells the king, and this is King David that we're talking about, and this is how you know that Joab has a lot of power and influence, not just because he's the top general and has the loyalty of the army, but also because he's David's nephew and he has the ear of the king like nobody else does. And he tells the king, basically, you walking around here crying and boo-hooing like a baby for this rotten kid of yours who would have killed you the first opportunity he got. And you wanna, disparage and look at me crooked because I took care of your problem and you didn't like the way I took care of it. And Joab says something to me that's really interesting. He threatens King David. He says to King David, I swear by God, if you don't go out to your troops and show them some appreciation and praise them, he says, not one will tarry with you this night. And I don't know what he meant by that. He could have possibly meant that he will defect and take the troops with him and challenge David for rulership of Israel. That's what he possibly could have meant. And he's warning David, don't bring a civil war with me. That's possibly what he could have meant. Or he possibly just could have meant that if you don't show your troops loyalty, they won't show you loyalty. Kind of like the same thing, but just not as severe. Anyway, David was so upset with Joab that he replaced Joab with Joab's cousin, Amasa. Now, Amasa is another one of David's nephews. And Amasa turns out to be not as good of a general as Joab. There's no mistaking it. Joab is a very valuable asset to David. He is good at what he does. When David tells him to do something, he doesn't have to worry about it getting done. Joab is going to handle it, and he's going to handle it the way David would want it handled, and he's going to handle it as though David did it himself. So David he's loving Joab as far as that aspect goes. But as far as the aspect goes that Joab is headstrong, bloodthirsty, and will do anything to further his own means, yeah, David really not feeling that. So I got this slide up. It's a slide to show you it's a slide showing Joab killing his cousin Amasa. And why does he kill Amasa? Well, to let Joab tell it, he could say, well, he was the leader of the rival army. He was Absalom's top general. We couldn't trust him. But the real reason I think Joab kills Amasa is because he's sending a message to David, and the message is, you can't replace me that easily, buddy. I'm just not a nobody. I'm not just somebody that you can just replace. I got pull. I got rank. Don't make me pull it. If you replace me, I'll just kill my replacement. How do you like that? That's what Joab's telling David. Don't play with me, dude. You can't replace me. I'll just kill my replacement. Joab really had no reason to do this because David, once he put Amasa in charge in Joab's place, he quickly realized that Amasa was no Joab. And David eventually put Joab and his brother Abishai back in command of the army because Amasa could not recruit and gather up an army quick enough. David told Amasa, go gather up the men of Judah, get me an army together and come back in 3 days. And the Bible said that Amasa tarried. He couldn't produce the results that David wanted. So David said he realized his mistake in putting Amasa in charge. As much as he despised Joab, he's the best man for the job. I know, sticky predicament. So David puts Joab and his brother Abishai in command. And they bump into Amasa. And what does Joab do when he happens upon Amasa? He says, hey, cousin, are you in good health? And I want to pick up back on what I talked about in the last episode. Okay, let me go back. It's this eerie verse in the Bible, and listen to what it says. And I got it highlighted in bold blue print. It says, when they were at a great stone, which is in Gibeon. Let me explain. David has now put his nephews Abishai and Joab in charge of gathering and recruiting up an army. The reason for this is an upstart, a rebel named Sheba, has rose up against David and says, I have no part in King David in the house of Jesse. He's a rival against David. He's really trying to prop himself up as a potential rival to David and alternative to David as king. So David wants to put down this rebellion quickly. He just got through avoiding a civil war with his own son. So that's the reason David sent Joab. That's the reason David sent Amasa, who was not too long ago a rival of David's. He sends Amasa out of his contempt for Joab. I hope I'm not confusing you with all this. Out of his contempt against Joab, he puts Amasa in charge of recruiting this army to hunt down this upstart and rebel rouser named Sheba, son of Bichri. So Amasa can't do the job. He puts Joab and Abishai in charge of doing it, and they run into Amasa. That's what the Bible is talking about when it says, when they were at the great stone, which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before them. So they bump into Amasa, and this is what Joab does. It says, and Joab's garment that he had put on was girded unto him. So they telling you that the clothes that Joab was wearing that particular day was fastened unto him. Now, why would the Bible tell you some insignificant information like that? Because it's leading up, it's leading up to telling you something bigger, and you need to pay attention. That's why it starts out, when it starts talking about Joab, it starts talking about his clothes, because that's a detail you need to pay attention to for what's coming. It says, now Joab's garment that he had put on was girded unto him. Okay? He put it on, he fashioned it and fastened it in a particular way upon himself. And it says, and upon it a girdle with a sword fastened upon his loins in the sheath thereof. Okay, so within these clothes, he has a girdle, okay? So not only does he have the clothes fastened to him with either a belt or a sash or some kind of device that you fasten the clothes to yourself, but in addition, he has a sword belt. That's what a girdle is. And it's either tied to his waist or it's tied to his thigh, because it says that the sword fastened upon his loins. Loins means your thighs. And it says in the sheath thereof. That means it was in its scabbard. You know, when you pull the sword out of its sheath, the sheath is the covering. It's called a scabbard. So what I don't understand is whether this sword was visible or whether it was hidden in his clothes. But the Bible further goes on to say, and as he went forth, it fell out. So regardless to whether the sword was hidden at first, As he walks up to his cousin Amasa, the sword falls out. Now, here's the whole point I'm trying to make. Joab is a low down, dirty snake in the grass. We've seen that from the people he's killed in the past. The people he's killed in the past, it was real dirty, underhanded, stabbed them in the back. He doesn't have a problem. Joab has no morals or no bottom, okay? He don't care how it looked. So what I don't understand is, I don't understand if this sword just happened to fall out while he was walking up to his cousin Amasa. It's more likely that he did some type of little trickery. Understand this, Joab is a veteran of war. He is the top general in a very successful army under a very successful king. He knows all the tricks of the trade, and he is shady as hell. I think it's more likely that Joab, as he walked up to his cousin Amasa, he did some kind of trickery, some kind of sleight of hand that he's good at. He's a savant when it comes to killing, okay? He's a savant. He's an expert at killing. And I think it's more likely that he pulled some little sleight of hand, some David Copperfield pull a rabbit out of a hat. He did some kind of manipulation to make that sword fall out. And he did it in a way in which it looked very innocent, like a mistake or like something that just happened. But if you know Joab's nature as a human being, he's shady as hell and nothing just happens with him. So let me finish reading. It says, and Joab said to Amasa, his cousin, art thou in health, my brother? So he comes to Amasa as a friend. Why would Amasa be on guard and be alarmed? They're both working for David. They're on the same side. Even though Amasa was Absalom's top general in his attempted coup against David, David had forgiven Amasa. David had already told Amasa, you are the flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones, and God do so to me, and even more also if I don't make you general instead of Joab continually. That's what King David said to Amasa. So he told Amasa, you're forgiven for all that you've done. Now come command my army. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is Amasa has absolutely no reason to think he's in danger from his cousin. And I want you to understand that, because this is what it says. It says, and Joab said to Amasa, art thou in health, my brother? And it says, and Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. This was a common practice for these people at this period in time. Just like in Italy and in Sicily, when you walk up to somebody to this day, it's common in that culture for them to kiss each other on both cheeks. Well, in Israel, back at this time period, it was very common for you to walk up to somebody, grab them by the beard, and guide their head as you kiss them on both of their cheeks. It was an action of endearment. It was how you said hello. It was how people in my culture walk up and do these long 2-minute handshakes, or, the fist bump, or, we real like touchy-feely, we grab each other in the handshake, pull it in close, and slap that hug in there. Okay, well, this is how they do it. So when Joab did this to Amasa, Amasa would have thought nothing of it. And listen to what the Bible goes on to say. It says, and Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. And that would have had to been his left hand, because he grabs him by the beard with his right hand. And so, please understand, Amasa sees this man with a sword in his hand, okay? Because the Bible just told you, but Amasa took no heed. He paid no mind to the sword that was in Joab's hand. And I'm telling you why. Why? Because this is his cousin. Number two, David, everyone knows David has forgiven Amasa. Hell, he made him captain of the army. Three, both him and Joab are part of the same army. They're both working for David. They're working for the same end. But here's the thing. Amasa has no idea how ambitious and how competitive Joab is. Nobody with any rational mind could understand a person like Joab. He is a super-duper sophisticated, funny acting dude. So, okay, it goes on and it says, but Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he smote him therewith in the 5th rib, and shed out his bowels to the ground, and struck him not again, and he died. Now, what does it say? Why does it say he struck him not again? Because, like I told you, Joab knows what he's doing. He's an expert at it. He's a cold-blooded killer, and he's very good at killing. So when the Bible says, and struck him not again, it's saying that because Joab is the killer. And Joab only needs to hit you one time and you're dead. He knows what he's doing. He's done it enough times to be an expert. So it goes on and it says, and what I want you to see is Abishai is present at the murder of his cousin Amasa. And what I want you to understand is Abishai is no angel. Joab's brother Abishai, he's never the hand that murders, but he's always present and he's always complicit. I don't want you to be fooled by Abishai's loyalty and staunch steadfastness in his loyalty to David. I don't want you to be fooled by that, because Abishai is no angel. He's cut from the same cloth as Joab and his brother Asahel. He's cut from that cloth. He's no less a murderer, an expert killer. He's just never the hand that does the murdering. When Asahel was murdered, when Asahel was killed, when Asahel, the youngest brother, was killed by Abner, and Joab killed Abner, Abishai was there. When Joab murders Amasa, Abishai is there, and he's in agreement with his brother Joab. So I want you to understand, just because he ain't the hand that rocked the cradle, don't mean he's innocent, okay? So anyway, it says, so Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued after Sheba, the son of Bichri. Sheba is this rebel who's risen up and rebelled against the throne, so to speak. It says, and one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favoreth Joab and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. Now let me just explain this Let me explain this as I'm reading this. I'm trying to transition into I'm gonna want to stop reading it and then explaining it. I'm gonna explain it as I read it, okay? So follow me for a second, all right? It says, so Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued after Sheba, the son of Bichri. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said, now, they've just murdered, Joab has just murdered his cousin Amasa in front of everyone. It says, so Joab and his brother pursued after Sheba, the son of Bichri. And after Joab murders Amasa, it says, and one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favoreth Joab and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. So one of Joab's men, after Joab murders Amasa, one of Joab's men steps up and says, hey, we need to follow Joab. So whoever's with Joab and David, make yourself known. So let me continue reading. It says, and one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favoreth Joab and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. And Amasa wallowed in blood in the midst of the highway, okay? So after Joab murders Amasa, he's laying in the middle of the street in a pool of sopping, fresh red blood. And everybody saw it. All the troops saw it. Everybody saw it because Joab murders his cousin and rival in front of everyone. And he does it in a real cutthroat, bloodthirsty way, and everyone saw it. So as Amasa is laying in a pool of blood, one of Joab's men says, everyone who's for Joab, follow him, and everyone who's for David, follow Joab. But the men don't move. Listen, let me keep on reading. It says, and Amasa wallowed in blood in the midst of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood still, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field and cast a cloth upon him. When he saw that everyone that came by him stood still. When he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bichri. So what we have happen is Joab murders his cousin Amasa in front of everybody, okay? Amasa's laying in a pool of blood in the highway, and one of Joab's men tries to beckon the troops to continue following Joab. But the troops, they want to follow, but as they get to this dead body that's left this huge pool of blood, they stop, and they don't walk past this dead body. So this man of Joab sees that they're not going to pass this dead body. They just saw this man get brutally murdered, and they will not walk past his corpse. So this man of Joab has to move the corpse from out of the highway, cover it up so that nobody sees this awful and remembers this awful thing that was just done. And then they continue to follow Joab after this rebel Bichri. Okay, that's what just happened. 2 Samuel chapter 20 verses 14 through 20 reads, and he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and to Beth Maacah and all the Berites, and all the Berites. And they were gathered together and went also after him. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth Maacah. And they set up and they cast up a bank against the city. Okay, so what they're saying is Joab has tracked this dude, Sheba, to this city named Abel. And it says they cast up a bank against the city, so they built up a ramp against the city wall. And it stood in the trench, and all the people that were with Joab battered the wall. Okay, so they've laid siege to this city that Sheba has ran in for safety. And it says they build a ramp up to the city wall, and they begin to batter the wall to throw it down, the Bible says. It says, then cried a wise woman out of the city, hear, hear, say, I pray you, unto Joab, come near hither, that I may speak with thee. And when he was come near unto her, the woman said, art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. And she said unto him, hear the words of thine handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. Then she spake, saying, they were wont to speak in old times, saying, they shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel. Thou seekst to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? And Joab answered and said, Far be it from me, that I should swallow up or destroy. So you see what's happening is some lady calls out to Joab from the other side of the wall that they're attacking. And she's like, listen, this is a famous city. They once said of this city, counsel will be asked at Abel. And, you know, the counsel that was asked at this city avoided a war. She said, and so she's petitioning to Joab based on the history of this city ending wars and making peace when it was about to be a war. Let's do that now. Let's make peace and not war. She's saying, why have you, she said, I am a faithful woman of the Lord. She said, why are you attacking this city and a mother of Israel? And so what this lady is doing is she's appealing to Joab's, she's tugging on Joab's cultural strings. She's saying, I'm a Jew. Why are you attacking Jews? It's like in my culture, you know, if I was robbing a brother, he might look at me and say, take all I got, brother. You know, he might put it that way, like to shame me. That's what she kind of doing to Joab. She's saying, hey, look, I'm a Jew. This is a Jewish city. Why are Jews attacking a Jewish city? And Joab, it works because Joab says, far be it from me, fair maiden. And 2 Samuel chapter 20 verses 21 through 25 reads, and Joab continues this conversation with this lady on the other side of the wall. He says, the matter is not so, but a man of Mount Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri by name, hath lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said unto Joab, behold, his head shall be thrown over thee to, she said, behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and cast it out to Joab. And he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king. And I have this in big, bold, red print. Now Joab was over all the host of Israel. Damn. Now, isn't that interesting? After all this hoopla back and forth and shenanigans, Joab has retained his position as general over the army. Let me read that again, because this is showing, I tried to tell you, this dude is like a little David. He's cut from that cloth. He is such an interesting character. You can't get rid of him. It says, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri. So we see, once again, Joab gets the job done. It says, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and cast it out to who? To Joab. It says, and he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king. He returned victorious. Job well done, as always. And then it says, now Joab was over all the host of Israel. And it says, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and over the Pelethites. And Adoram was over the tribute. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. And Sheva was scribe. And Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Ira, also the Jairite, was chief ruler about David. Now, one thing I don't have highlighted in big, bold, red print that I probably should have, matter of fact, let me do it right now, is this right here. It says, now Joab was over all the host of Israel. Meaning, Joab is the top commander of the Israelite army, period. But the very next line says, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and over the Pelethites. Now, first of all, what does that mean, and who is Benaiah? Who is Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada? And what does that mean he was over the Cherethites and Pelethites? First, let me explain to you who he was. Benaiah is a captain in David's army. He is under the top general, Joab. Okay, so Joab is the top general of David's army, and Benaiah is one of the captains under Joab. So Joab would command Benaiah. Now it says Benaiah was over the Cherethites and the Pelethites. Now, who are the Cherethites and the Pelethites? They're a wing of David's army, and they're an exceptionally good wing of the army. The Cherethites and the Pelethites are no joke. They are like among the elite of David's forces. And why is Benaiah over them? Because Benaiah is an up and coming general. Listen, there's always a bigger fish. And Benaiah is he's only a captain right now, but he's an up and coming general. There is talent within the Israelite army, and Benaiah is proof of that. He's the next generation of David. He's the next generation of Abishai. He's the next generation of Joab. And here's a spoiler alert. Fast forward from where we're at now into the future, Benaiah is going to eventually become the top general of the Israelite army. Here's another spoiler alert. Benaiah is going to kill Joab by the king's command. That's just a spoiler alert. We ain't there, and we ain't gonna be there for a long time, because I'm not about to go into the book of Kings after I finish up on David. We starting over from the beginning, baby. Anyway, it says Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and over the Pelethites. And this is one of the first times you hear Benaiah's name, but you're going to hear his name more and more and more as we progress into the Bible from 2 Samuel. Anywho, this lady that's in this city that Joab is attacking, she must be someone that's well-to-do. She's obviously somebody with a lot of power and influence in that city, because she negotiates with Joab to bring him the head of the dude he's looking for. And she goes away from the wall, and it says she converses with the people of her city in all her wisdom. So basically she told them, why should we all die for this one dude who's fled? He ain't probably even from here. He's from the country of Ephraim, the area of Ephraim. He ain't from here, and he done ran to our city, putting us all in danger to save his own skin. And obviously the people of the city agreed with her, because she promptly brought back his noggin and threw it over the wall to Joab. And Joab promptly blew the trumpet, called a retreat, and pulled back from the city walls. Once again, sending that city into the history books as a city of wise counsel that averts war. So, once again, Joab comes home, his enemies defeated. He didn't even have to dirty his sword. Not even one of his men saw battle. It's a testament to how good Joab is at his job. He murders his rival, his cousin Amasa. He accomplishes his goal, what the king set him out to do. And that was to put down or quell this rebellion. He comes back with the rebel leader's head to King David. And the biggest thing to me out of this whole ordeal, he retains his job. Despite what the king wanted, King David wanted him replaced. He murdered his replacement. The biggest thing I walk away from this episode is Joab does what the hell he wants to do. And even though King David sets out to punish him, he eludes, evades, escapes, dodges. I don't care what adjective you use. He escapes punishment and retains his position. Joab keeps his job after all this. Yo, if nothing else, you can say a lot about Joab. You can say he low down, you can say he dirty, you can say he underhanded, but you can't say he late for dinner. He doing something right because he's winning. Now, I gave you a spoiler alert for a reason, and that's to show you that no good deed goes unpunished no matter how it looks. Joab's misdeeds and sins will catch up with him in the end. Spoiler alert, the dirt that Joab does, he does not get away with it in the end. He pays for it with his life at the end of his life in his old age. And Benaiah, this upcoming captain, this upcoming talent, this rookie of the year, so to speak, is the hand that kills Joab in the end. Yo, folks, we've come to the point in this episode where I thank you for joining me for this episode of Son of a Preacher Man. If you have any likes, dislikes, compliments, or comments, please leave it in the comment section. If you want to chop it up with Soap Man and debate, if you want to argue, holla at me in the comment section. If you want to donate to my National Negro College Fund Foundation and charity, leave a comment in the comment section. I have absolutely no morals or compunction about taking charity and donations. Donate whatever you want. Sign over the deed to your house, or if you just got a couple dollars you want to throw the Soap Man way. I mean, it's for the progression of the channel, of course. Anyways, leave it in the comment section. Any correspondence that you want to have with the SOAP man, leave it in the comment section. You want to be flirtatious? You want to be complimentary? Tell the Soap Man how brilliant he is, how great of a job he's doing, how debonair his scarf is. Leave it in the comment section. I read this stuff, but nobody never really leave nothing, so it ain't much to read. But you can change all that, and I'll see you next time. Same soap time, same soap channel. We out.